I pulled into my driveway after the 3-hour drive from Eugene. My best friend Walter's memorial service had been beautiful, but draining. 42 years of friendship, and just like that, he was gone. I sat in the truck for a moment, looking at the house. The house Ellen and I had bought when we first moved to Portland. The house where we'd raised our dreams, even if we'd never had kids of our own. Something felt off. There were 3 cars parked on the street in front of my house. Cars I didn't recognize. A red Honda, a white Tesla, and some kind of SUV. I frowned. My niece Brittany's beat-up Civic was in my driveway, but that wasn't unusual. She'd been staying in the guest room for about 8 months now, ever since she'd told my sister Linda that she needed a place to get her business off the ground. I grabbed my overnight bag and walked to the front door. I could hear voices inside. Multiple voices. Music playing. Not loud, but not quiet either. I opened the door. My living room had been transformed into what looked like a coffee shop crossed with an office. 4 people I'd never seen before were sitting at folding tables with laptops. My coffee table had been pushed against the wall. Ellen's grandmother's armchair was gone. In its place was a whiteboard covered in colorful markers, with something about Q4 goals and team expansion. A young woman with purple hair looked up at me. "Oh, hey, you must be Thomas. Brittany said you'd be back today." "I'm Zoe." She smiled like she lived here. "Who are you people?" I set my bag down. "We're Brittany's team." Another person, a guy in his 20s, wearing a tech company hoodie, waved enthusiastically. "This house is perfect for our workspace. The energy here is amazing." Brittany emerged from the kitchen holding a smoothie. "Uncle Thomas, you're back." She kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong. "How was the service?" "It was fine." I looked around. "Brittany, why are there strangers in my living room?" "Oh my God, they're not strangers. They're my team. I told you I was building something big." She gestured proudly. "This is Zoe. That's Devin. Over there is Marcus and Jen. Everyone, this is my Uncle Thomas." They all waved or smiled, like this was normal. "Brittany, we need to talk." Privately, she rolled her eyes. "Uncle Thomas, can it wait? We're in the middle of a strategy session." "No, it can't wait." She sighed dramatically. "Fine. Guys, take 15. She followed me into the kitchen. The kitchen looked like a disaster zone. Dishes piled in the sink, empty smoothie containers, protein powder all over the counter. The small breakfast table where Ellen used to read the morning paper was covered in stacks of inventory boxes. "What is all this?" I asked. "It's product. For my business. I'm a wellness consultant now. These are supplements, essential oils, skincare. It's a whole ecosystem of products that help people live their best lives." Her eyes were bright with that manic energy I'd seen before. This wasn't her first business venture. "Brittany, when you asked to stay here, you said it would be temporary. You said you needed a quiet place to work on your online business. You didn't say anything about turning my house into an office." "It's not an office. It's a co-working space. There's a difference. And Uncle Thomas, this is huge. I'm this close to hitting diamond level in my company." She held her fingers an inch apart. "Do you know what that means? Financial freedom. I could buy my own house, help Mom out, maybe even help you with your property taxes." "I don't need help with my property taxes." "Well, not yet. But you're getting older. Wouldn't it be nice to know family is here to support you?" There it was. That subtle twist that Linda always did too. Make it sound like they were helping me when really I was helping them. "Where's Ellen's chair?" I asked. "The blue armchair." Brittany waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, that old thing? It was taking up so much space. I moved it." "Moved it where?" "The basement. Don't worry. It's fine. And actually, Uncle Thomas, I've been meaning to talk to you about the basement too. That space is being totally wasted. I could set up a product inventory room down there, maybe even do some of my video shoots." "No." She blinked. "What?" "No. You're not taking over my basement. I'm not taking over anything. I'm optimizing unused space. This house is way too big for just you. It makes sense to—" "Brittany," I kept my voice level. "I want your friends out of my house. Today." Her face changed. The bright enthusiasm vanished. replaced by something colder. Seriously? Uncle Thomas? This is my one shot. I've put everything into this business. Mom knows how important this is. She said you wouldn't mind. Your mother said I wouldn't mind having strangers in my living room? She said you'd be supportive. She said you were lonely and that having people around would be good for you. I felt a familiar ache. Linda meant well, but she'd always been like this, making decisions for me, assuming she knew what I needed. Call your friends. Tell them to pack up. They need to leave. Brittany's expression hardened. You know what? Fine. But they can't leave right now. Devon's car has a problem, and Marcus is his ride. They'll leave in an hour. 1 hour. Whatever. She stormed past me back to the living room. I stood in my kitchen, surrounded by someone else's chaos, and felt a wave of exhaustion. Walter's memorial had reminded me how short life was, how much time we waste on things that don't matter. And here I was, 77 years old, and I couldn't even come home to peace. I walked upstairs. I needed to change out of my funeral clothes. I stopped at the top of the stairs. The door to Ellen's craft room was open, the craft room that I'd kept exactly as she'd left it when she died. Her sewing machine, her quilting projects, her yarn collection organized by color, the room that smelled faintly of lavender because she'd always kept sachets in the drawers. The room was empty. Not empty like someone had taken a few things. Empty like a staged house before a sale. The walls were bare, the shelves were gone. Ellen's big wooden table that her father had made gone. The closet door was open, and I could see it was completely cleaned out. My chest felt tight. I walked to my bedroom, pulling out my phone. My hands were shaking as I dialed Linda. She answered on the third ring. Thomas? How was Walter's service? Linda, did you know Brittany cleared out Ellen's craft room? A pause. Oh, she mentioned she might need to reorganize a bit. Reorganize? My voice cracked. Linda, everything is gone. Everything. Well, honey, you weren't using that room. It's been 10 years. Brittany needs storage for her business inventory, and it seemed like a practical solution. You have to let go sometime. Let go? I sat on my bed. Linda, that was Ellen's space. Her projects, her memories. Thomas, I know you miss Ellen. We all do. But keeping a shrine isn't healthy. Brittany is family. She's alive, she's here, and she needs your support right now. Don't you think Ellen would want you to help her niece? Don't use Ellen against me, I wanted to say. But Linda had always been good at that, making everything sound reasonable, making me feel like I was the one being difficult. Where did Brittany put Ellen's things? I think she said something about the basement, or maybe she donated some of it. Thomas, honestly, how long were you going to keep old fabric and half-finished projects? It was just collecting dust. Just collecting dust. Ellen's last quilt, the one she'd been making for Linda's daughter's baby, the one she never finished because the cancer came back faster than anyone expected. Just collecting dust. I have to go, I said. Thomas, don't be dramatic. Brittany is trying to build something. Be supportive. That's what family does. I hung up. I sat on my bed for a long time. Through the floor, I could hear Brittany and her team laughing. Someone turned the music up. Finally, I stood and walked back downstairs. Down to the basement. The basement was my workshop. Had been for 30 years. My woodworking tools. My projects. My workbench. The place where I'd made Ellen's hope chest. Our kitchen table. The toy box for Linda's grandkids. Boxes were stacked everywhere. Cheap cardboard boxes with Lumina Wellness printed on the sides. They were piled on my workbench, stacked against my tool cabinet. There had to be 50 boxes, maybe more. In the corner, I found Ellen's things, not organized, not carefully stored, just dumped. Her sewing machine was on the concrete floor, no case, no protection. Her quilting projects were shoved into garbage bags. I opened one and saw her fabric, the pieces she'd cut with such care, now wrinkled and crushed together. I found her yarn in a plastic tub, but the organization was gone. The colors she'd sorted were all mixed together. Some skeins were unwound, tangled. Her mother's china dishes, the ones from the hutch in the craft room, were in a box marked fragile, But when I looked inside, several plates were cracked. They'd been packed hastily, without enough protection. I stood in my basement, surrounded by boxes of diet supplements and face cream, looking at 10 years of my wife's passion treated like garbage, and something in me snapped. I pulled out my phone and called James Morrison. James had been a lawyer for 35 years before he retired. He'd handled Ellen's estate. We'd played poker together for the last decade. Thomas, how was Eugene? James, I need your help. By the time Brittany's team finally left, it took 2 hours. Not one, I was back upstairs. I'd spent the time in the basement, carefully repacking Ellen's things. Properly this time. With care. I came up to find Brittany in the kitchen, eating Chinese takeout straight from the container. Your friends took their time leaving, I said. She shrugged. We were in the middle of something important. You know, Uncle Thomas, I've been thinking. This house is really too much for you to maintain alone. Have you ever thought about selling? Or maybe letting me buy it from you? I could get a mortgage, and you could move into one of those nice senior communities. They have activities, healthcare on site. Where's Ellen's piano? She paused mid-bite. What? Her piano. The upright in the craft room. Where is it? Oh, I sold that. The words hung in the air. You sold Ellen's piano. Uncle Thomas, nobody was playing it. It was taking up space. I got $800 for it, which I used to invest in my business inventory, which is technically an investment in my future, which means I'll be able to pay you back for letting me stay here. You sold my wife's piano without asking me. You were at a funeral. I couldn't ask you. And honestly, Uncle Thomas, you're being super negative right now. I thought you'd be proud of me for being entrepreneurial and taking initiative. I looked at my niece, really looked at her. The way she stood in my kitchen like she owned it. The way she justified taking something that wasn't hers. The way she made it sound like I was the problem. Brittany, I need you to pack your things. You need to leave. Her eyes widened. What? Are you serious? Very serious. Uncle Thomas, I have nowhere to go. You can go to your mother's house. She doesn't have room. That's why I'm here. You can't just kick me out. This is my home. This is my home. You're a guest who's overstayed her welcome. Her face twisted. Oh, I see. Walter dies. And suddenly you're having some kind of midlife crisis. Or, I guess in your case, end-of-life crisis. You're just a bitter old man who can't handle change. I want you out by the end of the week. Fine. She slammed the takeout container down. Fine. But don't come crying to Mom when you're all alone and miserable. Don't call me when you need help. Family is supposed to support each other. But apparently that only goes one way. She stormed upstairs. I sat at the kitchen table. My hands were still shaking. Confrontation had never been my strong suit. Ellen used to joke that I'd apologize if someone stepped on my foot. But Ellen wasn't here. And I was tired of apologizing for taking up space in my own life. The next morning, James came by with papers. Brittany was still asleep. She'd been up until 2 in the morning on a team call, apparently. This is an official notice, James explained, setting his briefcase on my kitchen table. In Oregon, if someone has been staying with you for more than a few months, they're considered a tenant, even without a lease. You can't just make them leave. You have to give proper notice. How much notice? 30 days. But Thomas, there's more we need to discuss. Have you been checking your mail? My mail? He pulled out a stack of envelopes. I stopped by yesterday after you called, and your mailbox was stuffed. When's the last time you collected it? I frowned. Brittany usually brings it in. Thomas, look at these. They were mostly bills. My utility bills, which were normally around $100 in the summer, were over $400. My water bill had tripled. But what made my stomach drop were the overdraft notices from my bank. I don't understand. I've never overdrafted. James pointed to the statements. Someone's been cashing checks from your account. Small amounts. $50 here, $75 there. They add up. I looked at the signatures. They were attempts at my signature, but sloppy. Brittany, I said, can you prove it? The checks are in my desk, in the craft room. I paused. In Ellen's craft room, where Brittany's been storing her inventory. James nodded slowly. I think we need to call the police. She's my niece, Linda's daughter. Thomas, this is check fraud. That's a crime. I sat with that for a moment. My sister's daughter. The little girl I used to push on swings. The teenager who'd cried in my kitchen when her first boyfriend broke her heart. That Brittany wouldn't do this. But that Brittany had grown into someone I didn't recognize. Let me talk to Linda first, I said. Don't wait too long. And Thomas? Change your locks. Today, after James left, I called a locksmith. He could come that afternoon. Then I called Linda. Thomas, if this is about the craft room again. Linda, Brittany has been stealing from me. Silence. Stealing is a strong word. She forged my signature on checks. She sold Ellen's piano without permission. She's racked up my utility bills with all her people here. James says she's taken at least $2,000. Brittany would never, Thomas. She's under a lot of stress with this business. Maybe she borrowed a little money and forgot to ask. That's not stealing. That's family helping family. She forged checks, Linda. You're being overdramatic. Brittany probably assumed you'd say yes if she asked. She's your niece. Are you really going to call the police on family? I've given her notice to move out. 30 days. You what? Linda's voice went shrill. Thomas, she's building a business. She's finally found something she's passionate about. How could you do this to her? How could I, Linda? She took over my house. You have that whole big house to yourself. Ellen's been gone for 10 years. You're being selfish. Something in me went cold. Ellen's been gone for 10 years, so her things don't matter? Her piano, her crafts, her space, none of that matters because enough time has passed? That's not what I meant. I think it is. I think you've decided that my grief has an expiration date, that I should be over it by now, that I should be grateful someone wants to use my empty house. Thomas, Brittany has 30 days. If she's not out, I'll file for eviction. If she doesn't return the money she stole, I'll file a police report. I'm changing the locks today. I'm done. You'll regret this, Linda said, her voice tight. When you're old and alone and need family, remember that you pushed us away. Goodbye, Linda. I hung up. For a moment, I sat in silence. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. Brittany appeared, her hair messy, wearing pajamas. Was that Mom? Yes. Let me guess. She tried to guilt you. Brittany laughed bitterly. That's her specialty. I looked at my niece. Did you take money from my account? She had the grace to look uncomfortable. I borrowed it. Borrowing requires asking permission. You would have said no. Exactly. So you stole it. Uncle Thomas, I was going to pay you back. Once I hit diamond level, the commissions are insane. I would have paid you back double. This business is going to make me rich. What business is this exactly? She pulled out her phone, suddenly animated. Lumina Wellness. It's revolutionary. We sell supplements, skincare, essential oils, but it's not just about products. It's about building a team. See, I recruit people, and they recruit people, and everyone makes money. I'm 3 levels away from Diamond. Do you know what Diamond consultants make? 6 figures, Uncle Thomas. 6 figures. I looked at her phone. The company logo, the income charts that showed a tiny number of people at the top making money and thousands at the bottom making nothing. Brittany, this is a pyramid scheme. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's network marketing. It's totally legal. God, you sound just like Mom. You're so old-fashioned. This is how people build wealth now. By scamming people? Her face flushed. I'm not scamming anyone. I believe in these products. I use them every day. How much have you made? What? In 8 months, how much profit have you made? Well, I'm still in the building phase, so I've had to invest in inventory. How much have you spent? She looked away. The business requires upfront investment. That's normal. Brittany, fine. I've spent about $15,000, but I've made back almost $2,000 in commissions, and once I hit Diamond, you're $13,000 in debt. It's not debt. It's investment. Is that where my $2,000 went? Into inventory for a pyramid scheme. Stop calling it that. She was shouting now. You don't understand modern business. You worked for the post office for 40 years. You don't know anything about entrepreneurship. I know when someone is being taken advantage of. Oh, that's rich coming from you. You let Aunt Ellen run your whole life. She made every decision, and you just went along with it like a puppy. At least I'm trying to build something for myself. I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor. Don't talk about Ellen. Something in my voice made her step back. You have 30 days to move out, I said quietly. The locks are being changed this afternoon. I'll give you a new key, but your friends are not allowed in this house. If you bring them here, you'll be out immediately. Do you understand? She stared at me. You're really doing this? Yes. Mom was right. You are a bitter old man. She grabbed her phone and ran upstairs. I heard her door slam. Then I heard her on the phone, crying to someone. I went to the basement. For the next few hours, I worked on moving Ellen's things to safety. I carried her sewing machine upstairs to the guest bedroom, not the one Brittany was using, the other one. I carefully transported her quilting projects, her yarn, her patterns. Each trip was a memory. Ellen sitting at her machine, her foot tapping the pedal in rhythm. The way she'd hold up a finished quilt to catch the light. Her laugh when I'd suggest colors that clashed terribly. By the time the locksmith arrived, I was exhausted. But I watched as he changed every lock in the house. Front door, back door, garage, even the basement door. Domestic situation? He asked sympathetically. Something like that. He handed me 2 sets of keys. Whoever you're keeping out, make sure you don't give them copies. After he left, I made a sandwich and sat in my living room. My living room, with Ellen's chair back where it belonged. I'd carried it up from the basement. It needed cleaning, but it was here. I was halfway through my sandwich when Brittany came downstairs. She had a suitcase. I'm staying at Zoe's tonight. I can't be in this house right now. Brittany, save it. I'll be back for my stuff. Don't throw anything away. She headed for the door, then turned back. You know what's sad? Aunt Ellen would be so disappointed in you. She left before I could respond. I sat in Ellen's chair and let myself cry for the first time since Walter's funeral. The next 2 weeks were tense. Brittany came and went. She'd show up with Zoe or Devon, load boxes into their cars, refuse to speak to me. The house slowly emptied of her presence. Linda called twice. Both times to tell me I was making a mistake. Both times I hung up. James helped me file a small claims court case for the money Brittany had taken. She'll have 30 days to respond, he said. If she doesn't, you win by default. Will I actually get the money back? Maybe. Probably not. But there will be a judgment against her. It'll show up on her credit report. Make it harder for her to do this to someone else. I also filed a report with the bank. They were sympathetic, but said that because I'd kept the checkbook accessible and the signatures were close enough, they couldn't refund me. What about the piano? I asked James. Can I get it back? He shook his head. Unless you can prove who she sold it to and they're willing to sell it back, no. I'm sorry, Thomas. I spent those 2 weeks reclaiming my house. I cleaned Ellen's craft room. I couldn't replace her furniture. I'd made most of it myself and didn't have the energy to start over, but I set up a table. I hung her quilts on the walls. I organized her yarn back into color families, the way she'd liked it. I found her unfinished quilt, the one for Linda's grandchild. I spread it out on the table and looked at the pattern. Ellen had been making a star pattern, complicated piecing that she'd loved. I didn't know how to quilt, but I could learn. On day 29, Brittany showed up with a moving van. She'd hired actual movers. They hauled out her remaining boxes, her furniture from the guest room, everything. She didn't come inside. She stayed on the lawn, directing the movers, refusing to look at me even when I stood at the door. Finally, everything was loaded. The movers drove off. Brittany stood by her car. I hope you're happy, she called out. Living alone in your big empty house. You could have had family around. But you chose furniture and old memories over real people. I walked down the driveway. Brittany. Those old memories were real people. Ellen was real. Her piano, her crafts. They mattered because she mattered. She's dead, Uncle Thomas. Yes. And that means what she left behind is all I have. You don't get to decide when I'm done grieving. You don't get to sell off pieces of her to fund a scam business. It's not a scam. How much are you in debt now? She looked away. That's none of your business. More than 15,000? Her jaw tightened. I'm going to make diamond level. You'll see. I hope you do, I said. And I meant it. I hope this works out for you. But Brittany, you can't build success on other people's foundations. You can't take without asking and call it family. You sound like a fortune cookie. Maybe. But here's something else. When you figure out this business is taking more than it's giving, my door is open. If you genuinely need help, not money, not a place to run your scheme, but actual help, I'm here. Because you're right, you are family. But family has to go both ways. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she got in her car and drove away. I stood in my driveway for a while. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Ellen had loved Oregon sunsets. I went inside and locked the door behind me. The house was quiet, but it was mine again. Over the next few weeks, I fell into a new rhythm. I started taking quilting classes at the community center. The teacher, a woman named Margaret in her 70s, laughed when I told her I was probably the only man in the class. Nonsense, she said. We had a man last year. He made beautiful work. I worked on Ellen's star quilt. It was slow going. My stitches were uneven. I pricked my fingers constantly. But every Tuesday and Thursday, I sat in that community center with a dozen women who didn't know me as Thomas the pushover or Thomas the bitter old man. They just knew me as Thomas, who was learning to quilt. Margaret looked at Ellen's work one day, running her fingers over the precise points of the stars. Your wife was very skilled. Yes, you're honoring her by finishing this. I'm trying. She patted my hand. That's all any of us can do. Linda didn't call for a month. When she finally did, her voice was stiff. Brittany's moving to Arizona. There's a big opportunity there with her business. I see. She's very angry with you. I know. Thomas, she's my daughter. You put me in an impossible position. I didn't mean to. But Linda, I couldn't keep living like that. A long pause. I know. I didn't want to see it, but I know. She's always been like this, taking the easy path, making excuses, and I've always made excuses for her. I sat down. Linda admitting fault was rare. I'm sorry, she said quietly. About Ellen's things, about the piano. I should have stopped her. Yes. Will you forgive me? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know yet, but I'm willing to try. That's fair. She sighed. Do you know why she's really moving to Arizona? Why? The pyramid scheme fell apart. She's being sued by some of the people she recruited. They want their money back. She's running away from it all. How much does she owe? Over 30,000. Maybe more. Thomas, I can't bail her out. Not this time. She needs to face this. I agree. Another pause. You've changed. Maybe. Or maybe I've just stopped pretending I'm fine when I'm not. Walter's death hit you hard. Yes. It reminded me that time isn't infinite. I don't want to spend what's left apologizing for existing. Linda was quiet for a moment. I'd like to visit. See the house. See what you've done with Ellen's room. Would that be okay? I'd like that. After we hung up, I went upstairs to the craft room. The star quilt was spread on the table, about 3/4 finished. My stitches were getting better, more even, more confident. I picked up the needle and thread. Outside, a car pulled up. I heard footsteps, then a knock. I went downstairs and opened the door. It was James, holding a folder. Good news and weird news. Okay? Good news. Brittany didn't contest the small claims case. You won by default. You're unlikely to see that money anytime soon, but it's on record. And the weird news? I did some digging. Ellen's piano. I found out who Brittany sold it to. My heart jumped. Who? A church about 20 miles from here. They bought it for their music program. He handed me a piece of paper with an address. I called them. They said if you want to visit it, you're welcome anytime. The next Sunday, I drove to the church. It was small, mostly white clapboard with a modest steeple. I went inside. A woman was playing the piano. I recognized it immediately, the scratch on the corner where Ellen had bumped it moving in, the brass fixtures she'd polished every week. The woman looked up. Can I help you? I'm Thomas Brennan. I believe my wife's piano is here. Her expression softened. Oh, Mr. Morrison called about you. Come, sit. I sat in a pew while she played. It was a hymn I recognized from Ellen's funeral. When she finished, she turned to me. It's a beautiful instrument. We're so grateful to have it. The children love it. My wife would like that. She always wanted to teach kids to play. She sounds wonderful. She was. The woman she introduced herself as Pastor Jennifer let me sit there for an hour. Sometimes she played, sometimes we just sat in comfortable silence. Before I left, she said, "You're welcome here anytime. If you want to visit the piano, if you want to come to services, if you just need a quiet place, our doors are open. Thank you." I drove home as the sun set, feeling lighter than I had in months. That night, I sat in Ellen's chair and wrote a letter. Not to mail, just to write. "Dear Ellen, I'm sorry it took me so long to stand up for you. For us. For our memories together. I let people convince me that moving on meant letting go. That keeping your things meant I was stuck in the past. But I'm learning that's not true. Your piano is making music for children. Your quilts are going to warm people who need warmth. Your craft room is alive again with projects and colors and purpose. You're not gone. Not really. You're in every stitch I'm learning to make. Every sunset I stop to watch. Every time I choose myself instead of just going along. Walter used to say, "You made me a better man." I think you're still doing that, even now. I miss you. I'll always miss you. But I'm learning to be okay with that. Love, Thomas. I folded the letter and put it in Ellen's hope chest, the one I'd made her for our 10th anniversary. Then I went upstairs and worked on the quilt until my eyes got tired and my fingers ached. 6 months later, I finished it. Margaret and the quilting group threw me a little party at the community center. They'd made me a certificate that said Master Quilter, with my name in fancy calligraphy. We ate cake, and they took pictures of me holding up the completed star quilt. "What will you do with it?" Margaret asked. "Give it to Linda's grandchild. The baby Ellen made it for is 5 now, but better late than never. She'd love that." I packaged it carefully and drove to Linda's house. She answered the door, surprised to see me. "Thomas, I didn't know you were coming." "I wanted to give you something." I handed her the wrapped package. She opened it slowly, her hands shaking when she saw the quilt. "Is this?" "Ellen's star quilt, the one she was making for your grandchild. I finished it." Linda's eyes filled with tears. "Thomas, this is... I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. Ellen wanted your grandchild to have it. So here it is. Will you come in? Have some coffee?" I hesitated, then nodded. I'd like that. We sat at her kitchen table, the way we used to before everything got complicated. We talked about small things. Her garden, my quilting class, the weather. "Finally," she said, "have you heard from Brittany?" "No." "You?" "She calls sometimes. She's working at a call center in Phoenix. She's broke, living with roommates." Linda shook her head. "I want to help her, but you can't fix this for her." "No." She looked at me. "I'm sorry, Thomas, for all of it. I should have protected Ellen's things. I should have stopped Brittany sooner. I should have believed you when you said something was wrong. You're a mother. You wanted to believe the best about your child. That's not an excuse." "No, but it's understandable." We sat in silence for a moment. "Are we okay?" Linda asked. "You and me?" I thought about it. "We're getting there. But Linda, if Brittany ever comes back, if she ever needs a place to stay, I know. I won't ask you to help her. That part of my life, I have to keep separate from you. I understand. Thank you." As I drove home, I thought about boundaries, how hard they were to set, how necessary they were to keep, how they didn't mean you stopped loving someone. They just meant you loved yourself too. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Then, on impulse, I did. "Uncle Thomas?" Brittany's voice was small. "It's me." I pulled over to the side of the road. "Hi, Brittany. I'm calling to say Mom said I should." She stopped, started again. "I'm calling to apologize. For everything. The piano, the checks, the way I treated you and Aunt Ellen's stuff. I was so focused on making my business work that I didn't see how much I was hurting you. Thank you for saying that. I'm in therapy now. Court-ordered, actually. Some of the people I recruited sued me. I had to declare bankruptcy. It's been really hard. I'm sorry you're going through that. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. And I'm working on being better. I sat in my truck, watching cars pass by on the highway. Brittany, forgiveness isn't something I can just give you. It's something you have to earn. But I'm glad you're getting help. That's fair. She paused. How's the house? Good. Quiet. I'm taking quilting classes. A small laugh. Aunt Ellen would love that. Yes, she would. Uncle Thomas? If I ever get my life together, and I mean really together, not another scheme, can I call you? Maybe visit? Yes. But Brittany, no more shortcuts. No more taking things that aren't yours. No more assuming family means unconditional support without mutual respect. I understand. I'm learning that the hard way. After we hung up, I sat for a while longer. Then I drove home. The house was dark when I pulled in. I unlocked the door, still felt good to have locks that only I controlled, and turned on the lights. Ellen's chair, her quilts on the walls, her craft room upstairs with my newest project spread on the table. I made myself dinner and ate at the kitchen table, the one I'd built by hand 30 years ago. Later, I called James. How would I go about leaving the house to someone? Updating your will? Are you okay? I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. But I want to make sure everything is clear. The house goes to Linda, if she wants it. If not, it gets sold, and the money goes to that church that has Ellen's piano, for their music program. That's very specific. Ellen would want her piano to keep making music. I want to make sure it can. After I hung up, I went upstairs and looked at my current project. A quilt for Margaret, who'd taught me everything I knew. I was making a log cabin pattern. Still challenging, but I was getting better. I picked up the needle and thread and worked until my eyes got tired. Then I went to bed in my house, in my room, surrounded by memories that mattered and a future that was mine to choose. And for the first time in years, I slept soundly all night.